Yo, what's up, your boy Ghost here, and today I am bringing you guys another comparison video. This time it's going to be a little different because we're going to be doing the C58 on the STG, and this is going to be the first instance of me doing a comparison between a non-Vanguard weapon with the Vanguard weapon. It's taken me about a month to do this, but I feel like this is a pretty appropriate, I would say, comparison. I think after using the C58, I can confidently say that it feels really, to me, it gave me the same vibes as the STG. Granted, it's not the same weapon, but it definitely gave me the same vibes. And I know that, like, normal Warzone is a little bit weird because half the time we're playing Vanguard Royale, half the time we're playing actual Battle Royale. But since I'm a Rebirth player, I guess this more directly is in line with Rebirth. So I'm just going to say it's Rebirth. This is going to be more like a Rebirth comparison because that's all I really play. And that's the most thing I enjoy, or that's the thing that I enjoy the most. And, you know, I want to do a different type of comparison today. But before we do get into this, I want to say if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribing. We're near 2,000. We're about, I would say, less than 100 subs away. So every sub is greatly appreciated if you decide to sub. And yeah, man. With that being said, though, let's get into this comparison. And here we have the recoil pattern for the C58. As you guys can see, pretty simple pattern. But I mean, most of us are already familiar with how the C58 rolls. Because a lot of us probably did use this gun before the integration. I, for one, definitely did. I love this weapon. You know what I'm saying? It's a pretty cool weapon, man. Before, like, when it first came out and before it got nerfed, man, this gun was really good, man. And then it got nerfed a little bit, but it was still here and there. It was still here, like, in terms of meta, because it was still pretty good. And right now, obviously, they haven't really tweaked any Cold War or Modern Warfare weapons, so it's still the same. And to me personally, man, I think this weapon is definitely better than most Vanguard AR/LMGs. I definitely see the similarities in an STG, though. I'm not gonna lie, it might be a little stretch there, but I definitely think the STG is the closest AR to the C58 that we have in Vanguard. Was a little bit tough though because typically, I don't know, when I'm using an STG, I'm not really going up against C58s. Even in Rebirth, where you can use any type of gun, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people are still leaning over to Vanguard, which is cool because that's the new content. And using a gun that we've already used for like a year, it's a little bit weird, but well, not a year, but a few months, because this gun came out like in season 3, 4. I don't remember, so I can't say a year, but it's been a few months for sure. But I don't know, man. Something about going back to this Cold War weapon. I know it might seem like a little boring because it's only been a month since this new stuff come out. But man, I've been using a lot of weapons already from Vanguard. Like with all these comparisons, man, I've essentially used almost every like AR, every SMG, and I don't know, man. They just don't hit the same as Cold War, Modern Warfare weapons. I don't know why. To me, they just don't hit the same. And with season 2 like around the corner and the lack of I guess weapon balancing in my eyes that they didn't do in the mid-season update, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like forced my hand a little bit to kind of just branch out to the old weapons. And I don't know, man, I had a lot of fun using C58. I like the fact that I didn't have to do 10 attachments and I only had to do 5. Granted, when these guns were meta, the same class setups were used between every AR. To be honest, like if you use the M2, it's essentially the same class setup. If you use the Kilo, the same class setup. Like it's always the same class setup throughout every gun, which is probably like one of the more boring aspects of the game. But I don't know, man. 5 attachments to me just seems more normal than having 10 attachments. Not only on your primary, but like your secondary. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's just something to think about. I'm not saying that I don't necessarily hate the 10 attachment. I just think it's a little bit overkill. I don't know, like having the ability, specifically when Cold War was out, you could obviously use 8 attachments, and they didn't like let us do it back then. Not saying that we really needed to, but I'm just like, I don't know, I'm kind of confused what changed this time around to allow us to have 10 attachments on our Vanguard weapons. But regardless, man, C58, nothing too crazy to really talk about because I feel like, a lot of people already know this isn't like some new topic. But again, like I said, I definitely saw similarity in terms of this gun with the STG, and I just wanted to compare it because, why not? I feel like there's not really much I could do with Vanguard weapons right now until they either, when the new season comes in with new weapons and new buffs and nerfs. So, do something different this time. But anyways, man, with that being said, let's get into the stats and STG. And here we have the recoil pattern for the STG. As you guys can see, pretty, I would say, simple, just like the C58. Both of them, I think, share like similar recoil control and accuracy. But just so you guys aren't confused, man, this specific comparison video is more for like Rebirth, because I know that in normal Warzone, you know, you have Vanguard Royale and you have BR. So like at times there's literally like a week where you can't use Modern Warfare Cold War Weapon in normal Warzone. But in Rebirth, you know, you could use whatever you want at all times. And you know, I'm a Rebirth player now. I don't really like playing the new maps, so I play Rebirth most of the time. So you know, this time this comparison is going to mostly apply to Rebirth. Obviously, it can apply to the normal Warzone, but you know, we're gonna just shift it to Rebirth. But anyways, man, I actually took a look at the stats between both of these weapons, and if you've been doubting the comparison between these two weapons, when you guys hear these stats, man, all that doubt's gonna go away, man, because both of the stats for these weapons are really, really similar. It might even surprise you. But anyways, man, starting off with the first stat, we have the fire rate, in which the STG actually wins, because the base fire rate for an STG is at 600 RPM, whereas for the C58 is at 553 RPM. And the thing about Cold War weapons, from what I know, you really can't up the fire rate, and even if you can, the STG, you can also do that. Specifically in like 3 different places. I think the barrel, the muzzle, and the mag, and you got a way faster fire rate. So quite literally, you could probably have a 100 RPM advantage with an SCG if you were to have like all fire rate attachments. But then that would make this gun suffer at range. So you know, you wouldn't want to do that. And me personally, I don't think I use a fire rate attachment at all. So you know, that doesn't really apply to me. But this gun still has a faster fire rate than a C58, which is kind of crazy to think about. But moving on over to the damage, this where it's also going to get kind of strange, because for the SCG for 0 to 31 meters, we have 45 damage to the head and neck, 33 to the chest, 30 to the stomach and extremities. And for the C58, this is where it gets kind of interesting. For 0 to 25 meters, we have 58 damage to the head, 44 to the neck, 37 to the chest, stomach, and extremities. And like, these damage values between these two, aside from the head, is very, very similar, which is kind of crazy, because like, I don't know, man, I didn't really think that the STG was like this close in like damage to the C58, because C58, man, we all know like it's a really good weapon, like a really powerful weapon, and for it to have, for what seems this close damage, is kind of insane, bro. And it just shows that Man Orbits could definitely compete with a lot of these Cold War Modern Warfare weapons. And you know, not necessarily that these guns, because for me personally, I actually thought like a lot of these guns were essentially like way more dominant than any Vanguard weapon. But it's cool to see that it may be the case for a lot of them, but there is a few that can compete with these Cold War Modern Warfare weapons, which is dope, because you know, for a guy that plays Rebirth where you can use every weapon, that's a pretty cool thing to have. But anyways, man, moving over to the longer ranges for 31 meters and above. For the STG, we have 39 damage to the head and neck, 28 to the chest, and then 26 to the stomach and extremities. And then for the C58, 25 meters and above, 53 damage to the head, 40 to the neck, 34 to the chest, stomach, and extremities. Again, in this case, the STG definitely has a little bit more of a damage drop off than the C58, because the C58 is still rocking really strong with the 53 damage to the head. So overall, yes, the C58 is definitely stronger, but like, it's not as seemingly as one-sided as I thought it would be, aside from the headshot. Headshot, like, that's literally 50 damage to the head. That's a 5-shot headshot. That's almost like a bar. No, not almost like a bar, like a bar. But it's just, to see these numbers, because I haven't really looked at the numbers between both Vanguard and, you know, these type of weapons, and it's just like, the CMB this close definitely surprised me, and it's definitely made me like realize, oh, yo, this is, you know, these two guns aren't really far off from each other. And you know, that's, it kind of felt like when I was C58, 'cause I've been using STG a lot recently, and so when I pulled out the C58, it really gave me those vibes. And one little misconception that I always had was like, I always felt Vanguard weapons didn't have like, I don't know how to explain this, like the range that Cold War and just Modern Warfare weapons had. I mean, it was the same case with Cold War weapons when they first came in. But I don't know, now that I've used the C58 and now that I witnessed how truly terrible my recoil control is, I was like, yo, hold on. Both weapons are very similar, even at range. And I'm just like, dude, these guys, like, the C58 and the STG specifically are like long lost brothers. Like, they ain't twin brothers, but they're definitely long lost brothers, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, it's cool to see very similar. Hopefully I can find more comparisons like this. I definitely got others that I plan on making between you know, Cold War or Modern Warfare weapons versus like MP40s and whatnot. I have a few in mind, and I'm definitely gonna get on that. But for now, this is the first one that we got. Up until the mid-season update happens, or not season 2 update happens, which will still get quite some time. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy these type of videos, because I definitely enjoyed playing with these guns and definitely enjoyed making them. But anyways, man, with that being said, let me know what you guys think about both of these weapons. For me personally, though, I'm gonna have to stick with C58. I mean, granted, I won't really be using C58 that much, because you know, I it's gonna get boring really fast. But C58 in this case, in my opinion, wins. But the STG not that far off. Definitely good. But anyways, man, thank you guys for watching. So let's see you in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.